Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn, and welcome back to another episode of The Chamber Within. As a human being, we have an array of emotions, as you know. The primary ones like joy, happiness, sadness, and fear, and of course, everything else in between. But what if we had a better hold of our emotions? I'm thinking like an internal emotional management system, like we could harness them to our use. In the spiritual community, they say, don't get too down. And other gurus say, don't get too happy, just stay neutral, learn the art of detachment. And I see the detachment and I can deal with certain levels of it, like what we call now the art of dissociation, but I disagree. I like where I am most comfortable, and that is somewhere around light glee, right? I love a good giggle. And because I enjoy laughing, I consider that as my emotional home base. I figure a good sense of humor is necessary to live this life, especially when you're trying to pull yourself out of negative emotions. You know, being better at managing emotions is crucial. For starters, it's the realization that you are not necessarily your emotions or thoughts, but just the one who experiences them, right? We can say, hey, this makes me feel sad, so I'll do my best to pull my attention towards something else, not so sad, or allow the moment of sadness to drown out any other input and become a day of sadness or even a week of sadness. When you can manage your emotions properly, you also get better at navigating around other people's emotions. It's the side effect that I've learned. I've learned how to respond and not react. The inner work is watching yourself feel the feelings and move through them however you need to. And once you can depart from those feelings, a lot like detachment, you can do the same for other people. And here's what I mean. I say for because when you do this act successfully, it helps them grow as well. This is a form of silent de escalation. It allows a moment to be just that and nothing further. No act of violence, no altercation, and finally, no moments in time that we will have a negative lasting effect that we wish we could take back. Someone can yell, scream, demand, blame, and you will just take notice. You can watch and see the drama unfold without becoming part of it, part of that story. There's a saying by Mark Twain that goes, never argue with a fool because onlookers can't tell the difference. But to me, this means that not that this person is a definite fool and you aren't necessarily, you know, the most righteous person standing there. Like they're wrong, I'm right, and that's that. Here's what I get from this. This means if you join them in the act, in solidarity, in like vibration, you are now just as culpable, just as silly, just as angry, just as whatever, fill in the blank. They are no longer more wrong and you are no longer more right or justified. You've now been pulled into this chaotic frenzy that they were experiencing, that they had in their own uh, bubble. They have won because here you are behaving just as they are. So the reason why you're rolling around on the ground with them doesn't matter, because people who are looking on from afar is like, what's going on over here? You know, well, this person did this and you're both ridiculous now, right? I can understand anger. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying, for me, that saying means that now you're both the same person because you've joined them. I spoke of this in episode 56 about my sister being in the calm, being the calm in the middle of a raging emotional storm. And I love this topic because it's so hard to do. I'm not saying I'm a glutton for punishment, but you can imagine how much practice it takes. But okay, so here's my personal work that I've done with this, because I'm telling you, it is not me speaking from an abstract point of view. I've lived this, and I just had to circle back and share how I've dealt with this. So one day I was having a text conversation with one of my brothers, and he was upset with me for not wanting to speak. And I was basically secluding myself because something had happened between us, and I just wanted to text. I didn't want to talk on the phone because I just didn't feel like it. And he's very talkative, so he has a way of holding you on the phone for about 2 hours each time. It was like a running joke in our family, and I don't know. I just got into a space where I didn't want to do things where I felt like I was not honoring my time and myself. And after that kind of disagreement or falling out, I was just like, I'll be cordial and share you know, how I've been and update him, and he'll do the same. But because he didn't like the answer I gave him about when the next time I would visit him or he could visit me, he got really, really mad and began to, he sent this long text, which felt like an attack. He said, "You're going to end up old and alone, and you're going to be like this person in our family," and a few other upsetting things that were a reaction to me setting boundaries. I was okay with the text here and there, but I didn't know when I was, feeling up to visiting him or having him visit me. This text came right before bedtime. I had work in the morning because apparently my last text of me saying I didn't know really set him off. So the conversation stopped. So I went to bed. I was laying in the dark, and that's when I received the very long paragraph. As you know, if you have ever had a disagreement via text, you get a whole speech on feelings. Like I said, I was just about to go to bed, and I was in a peaceful mood in the dark. And not only did this text disturb me out of my quiet time just before slumber, it made me tear up. It hurt. It hurt my feelings. And because of that, I got mad. And my first reaction was to send a scathing text back and to block him for the rest of my life. I was that mad. I was like, what? Me? What? Anyways, at the time, I felt very justified in doing so, but I truly wanted to work through these emotions, these feelings I was having. And I said to myself, I said, this isn't real. This is not real. And he is upset. Now I'm upset. And this is just this whole thing. And I'm going to let it breathe. It's not fair to me. And the things that I could respond with, something that may not be fair to him. And I didn't want to do that. So I'll let it breathe. I'll respond in the morning after a good night's sleep. I might feel different tomorrow. I might not. I literally went to bed with the full intention of never speaking to him again after what he sent me. So I did just that. I went to bed, woke up, had my breakfast, worked half of my shift, and during lunch, I found the clarity and patience, mind you, to write him back. I was surprised. I'm so serious. And this is what I wrote verbatim. I have found peace. How I navigate and carve this out is my prerogative. What's interesting is that the one thing I ask for, which is time and space, no one is willing to give to me. So I have to take it. As far as all of the other stuff mentioned that is on your mind, you have to deal with in whichever way is appropriate for you. I have made peace with all things, including the third person that he mentioned I was going to be like. Insert name there. This interaction, which is still a lot for me, on your end is perceived as not doing enough, that I should be doing more. I love you. There is no ill will, but I will fight for my peace, even if that means I am grossly misunderstood. That was the text. I bring this up because many times other people's crap will get laid on you, and you will mistake it for your crap, essentially, when it in fact is not. Being strong in your stance and having clear boundaries to others may look offensive. and that is okay too. It's okay to sit with that, how other people are receiving how you carve out your piece. That's fine. I will say, as an update, this conversation was 2 years ago, and as of today, we are still communicating. I didn't argue with him or block him for all of eternity, as I initially wanted to, but I did stand up for myself, and I was really proud about that. He now realizes he cannot push to have his way, and this teaches us both an ongoing lesson. I think the main lesson is that we can continue to love and respect one another, even in deep disagreement, which in my family, we would probably get gold stars for. I'm so serious. Like, we would walk around with gold stars like sheriffs in the family. Like, these guys are still talking. So, kudos to us. If this episode has resonated with you, or if you have a like story, I'd love to hear it. Or maybe you've grown apart from someone, some key people in your family since you've been on your spiritual journey or you're in your life period. I have as well. Perhaps I'll share that in the future. You can share your story with me if you click on the link in the show notes, which is speakpipe.com/the chamber voice line. Or you can also email me if you prefer at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful week ahead. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.